Am I the asshole? I left my grandparent in front of their house and drove away. I 30SF live very close to my grandparents and recently bought a car. I took a loan and I will be paying for it for a few years. It is not anything fancy, but it was fairly expensive for me. Also, I don't want to lend it to anybody. Well, last weekend we were supposed to celebrate my B-Day at my parents' house with my grandma and grandpa. The deal was that I would pick up my grandpas, drive them to my parents and then take them home, because they don't have a car and my grandma has problem walking, so public transport is not an option. Well, I came to pick my grandpas up, and they waited in front of the house. I stopped and my grandma told me, she wants my grandpa to drive, that she does not feel safe with me driving because I don't have much driving experience. I have driving license since 18 years and I told her that it is absolutely not an option since it is my car and I haven't even paid it off yet and I will be the one driving. She started to argue that my grandpa had driven his whole life and that she would feel much better if he would drive. I told her again that it was not gonna happen and to get into the car. She refused. My grandpa tried to reason with her, but she was standing there and just refused. I told her if she is not gonna get into the car, I am going to leave without them, and she still refused. I offered to my grandpa to go with me, but he said that he is not going without her. So I got back into the car and left them in front of their house. I know it might be petty, but my grandpa hasn't driven car for more than 20 years, had several eye surgeries, and is fairly in his 80s. Also, I don't think I am obligated to lend my car to anybody. My mom got very surprised when I appeared without my grandparents and called my grandma, who called me an idiot who left them in front of the house. And she thinks I should have just let my grandpa drive for the peace. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit, my grandpa has valid driving license, he got it renewed after his last eye surgery. Not the asshole. Your mother and grandmother need to both learn to respect you as an adult. Your grandmother was acting like a child and deserved to be treated as such. Not the asshole. 10,000. Set yourself on fire to keep the peace is a textbook tactic from parents afraid to set boundaries with family members. If your mom isn't paying your car bill and willing to assume responsibility for the loan, then pay her opinion no mind and happy belated birthday. Not the asshole. This is one of those tough boundaries you sometimes have to put in place with senior family members. It's not easy, but you made the right, safe choice. Not the asshole. Stand your ground. You handled the situation well. You are 30 and not 15, 18. They knew that you will pick them up. They could say something so your parents could pick them up. It's your car and your money. Don't do anything for peace. Not the asshole. Does your grandfather have a driver's license? After 80 in most jurisdictions, people need to pass a physical examination to maintain a valid driver's license. Not the asshole. Your grandma disrespected you and it wouldn't be safe to let your grandpa drive if he hasn't drove in so long. If they didn't like it, they could have taken a cab. Not the asshole. Grandma's getting a little batty. And your mom seems to be headed in the same direction. That horrible situation where keeping the peace by acquiescing to unreasonable demands could have led to your being on the hook paying for an unusable car that your grandpa wrecked because your nana insisted. Your mom is not being reasonable, just wanting to keep nana happy. If you're the idiot, why are they standing in the street while you're at your party? Not the asshole. Good Lord, no. No. Hasn't driven in 20 years with multiple eye conditions? Why don't you just break your own leg and set your car on fire? You can love grandpa but not enough to die to placate grandma's anxiety. What is mom thinking? Not the asshole. Congrats on your wheels. Nope, your car, your rules. I remember one time some lady wanted me to turn, but I made the decision to be cautious. I almost considered it. I then remembered she didn't pay my car note or insurance and it was my car. For the peace. Tell your mom that she should just take your side for the peace. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Does your grandfather even have a valid driver's license? Either way, you are absolutely not required to let anyone drive your car. If your grandparents aren't comfortable with your driving skills, then perhaps they should engage a professional and call a cab. Not the asshole. It is your car. You are the only one who gets to decide who drives it. If anyone demands to drive your car, ask if they have the cash to pay for it. The total of the loan plus the down payment. Total value. If they can put the cash in your hand right then they can drive. If not, no. You did right. Grandpa has not driven in 20 years. I would not trust him either. Not the asshole. My grandma drove all the time, drove for a living for a bit, but my parents and I always tried to drive when we were with her because, despite having a clean driving record and being certain she was a terrific driver, she was terrifying to drive with. I don't typically get car sick, but I carried motion sickness meds in my purse for when she insisted. Being old and having experience does not make one a better driver, and oftentimes, after a certain point, actually goes in opposite direction. In the future, could you use insurance or something as an excuse? You don't actually need a reason. Not wanting someone to drive your car, even if it was a paid-off hunk of junk and they were actually a much better driver than you, is absolutely valid. But sometimes having an excuse, even a flimsy one, is enough to keep the peace for disagreements that you don't want turning into something bigger. Not the asshole. He should probably not be driving any car. And it was your car, your choice to be the one driving it. Not the asshole. Your grandma may be having dementia issues and possibly sees you as a teenager still in her mind. Grandpa was just trying to be supportive of her for whatever reason. You did the right thing, however, and them being left there is on them, not you. Your mom must have been temporarily insane to say such a thing. Not the asshole. You're absolutely not the problem here. This is something you shouldn't even have to think about. Not the asshole. I'm extremely nervous about 80 years old driving it, worse than getting into a car with teens emo. Good for you, you set boundaries and stuck by them. You stood up for yourself. Congratulations. Definitely not the asshole. Your car, your rules. Nope, not the asshole. You are in the right. Your grandparents are being jerks. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. He wouldn't be on your insurance. If he wants to drive, then he should get his own car,